Nice launch trajectory countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Hello and welcome to the webcast for the Transporter-10 mission, SpaceX's 21st launch of 2024 and second launch in less than 24 hours following the launch of Crew 8 from Kennedy Space Center in Florida last night. The Falcon 9 rocket you see there on your screen is currently scheduled to lift off in just under 8 minutes from now from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base, just a few hours north from our headquarters in Hawthorne, California. And in just about 2 hours, we do have a Starlink launch, which is scheduled to lift off from our third pad, Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Atticus Federa, and I'm a propulsion engineer here at SpaceX. I'll be your host as we follow this Falcon 9 taking flight for its 5th time to deliver dozens of spacecraft into a sun-synchronous orbit for multiple customers. As you might have guessed, today's launch marks our 10th dedicated smallsat rideshare program launch. Flying since January of 2021, the first 9 transporter flights have collectively taken over 800 satellites to various destinations in low Earth orbit. And today we are excited to send 53 more payloads to space today, and those include cubesats, microsats, and a hosted payload. All the spacecraft that you see there in the photo on your screen will separate from the second stage across 48 deployments, and those are scheduled to start around the T plus 54-minute mark, and that will conclude just about 2.5 hours after liftoff. Now, we do expect to have telemetry for all but 5 of those deployments, and we will light our MVAC engine for a total of 4 times over the course of this mission. If you are interested, a full list of payloads are available on SpaceX.com.
Stage 1, everyone, load complete.
Now, we are currently working towards a T0 of 2:05 p.m. Pacific time, which is just about 6 minutes from now. Weather is green and the range is ready to support. If for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. The Falcon 9 rocket supporting today's mission is a 2-stage rocket. It's designed for reliable and safe transportation of satellites, cargo, and even people into space. At the very top of the rocket is the payload fairing. The fairing is a protective shell that houses all of the spacecraft, shielding them from aerodynamic heating and mechanical stress until the vehicle is outside of the Earth's atmosphere. The aerodynamic shape of the fairing also contributes to Falcon 9's overall efficiency, helping to reduce drag while the vehicle accelerates through the Earth's atmosphere. And once in space, those 2 fairing halves will separate to expose the payloads to the vacuum of space. The fairing halves will then fall back down to Earth, where they are recovered by SpaceX to be refurbished and reused on a future flight. And right below the fairing, we do have our second stage, which houses the single Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC. And that's the engine that will take... That's the engine that will take our payloads to their drop-off point in space. Below that second stage is the black carbon fiber interstage, where the MVAC engine is located. The interstage connects the 2 stages and houses the center pusher, and that allows the first and second stages to separate during flight. Just below that interstage is the first stage, which we usually refer to as the booster. The first stage makes up the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, and it has 9 M1D engines at the bottom. Those 9 Merlin engines do the bulk of the work to get the rocket off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere, and they generate more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust. And at just about 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will separate and make its way back to Earth, and we will be attempting to land at LZ4, which you see there on your screen now. And that landing zone is not too far from the launch pad. And as I mentioned as I mentioned earlier, this is the 5th flight for this rocket. This mission also marks the
Comeback is retracting.
250th time that a flight-proven booster will be used on a Falcon mission. And if successful, this landing will mark SpaceX's 280th landing of an orbital-class rocket. SpaceX is targeting at least 3 dedicated rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit per year. We do also offer opportunities for a ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, and those launch about once per week. Our goal with these missions is to provide small satellite operators competitive pricing, increased flight opportunities, and flexibility. And on today's mission, we're flying many exciting payloads, from one that will one day help address the issue of space debris, to in-space surveillance and reconnaissance support, Earth imaging and emissions tracking, and several payloads intended to demonstrate and grow in-space technologies. Now, as the demand for rideshare missions continues to rise, our rideshare program was
Stage
expanded.
1 LOX load complete.
And that program was expanded to accommodate even more small sats looking for rides to orbit. Later this year, Falcon 9 will launch the first bandwagon mission, which is a separate line of rideshare missions, and those will deliver spacecraft to a mid-inclination orbit rather than to Transporter's sun-synchronous orbit. Rideshares significantly increase accessibility to space for small satellite operators around the world, and we're super excited to be able to offer these opportunities for our customers. Now, coming up next in just around 30 seconds, we should be wrapping up LOX loading on the 2nd stage. Teams began loading propellant on the vehicle at around T-minus 35 minutes. It typically takes just around 33 minutes to load about 1 million pounds of liquid oxygen and RP1 into the vehicle.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
And there we go. We just had confirmation of stage 2 LOX load completion. And with that, the vehicle is now fully loaded with liquid oxygen and RP1. And right now on your screen, you can see that white cloud venting from the TE LOX line. This is a completely normal part of the closeout process.
Ground gas closeouts.
The next milestone coming up ahead of launch is startup, and this occurs at T-minus 1 minute. This is the point at which the vehicle's onboard flight computers will take control of the countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Great news there, folks. Falcon 9 has just entered the startup state. We're just waiting on our final go from our launch director, or LD.
LD is go for launch.
And there's that go for launch from our launch director. So with that, all systems are go for Falcon 9's launch of the Transporter-10 mission.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. And liftoff, Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Transporter-10.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Downpoint. And what do you chamber pressures?
T plus 30 seconds into flight, Falcon 9 has cleared the tower at Space Launch Complex 4 East. We're just coming back up on the point of throttling down to prepare for max Q, which is the point of maximum aerodynamic stresses on the vehicle. Can see
Power telemetry nominal.
can see some great views of the California coast down there below.
Falcon 9 is supersonic. Max Q.
And there we go. We just passed through the point of max Q, which means we have throttled the M1D engines back up. And coming up next, we do have 5 events, starting with MECO, or main engine cutoff, stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1, and then the beginning of boost back burn. Today's mission is what we refer to as a return to launch site mission. And that means that the first stage will flip around and point back towards the launch site where it took off from, and it will perform a boost back burn. Should be coming up on main engine cutoff in around 30 seconds. Getting a great tracking shot of the vehicle from the ground here.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. And back ignition. Stage 1 boost back startup.
Wow, beautiful views here. You just heard and saw those 5 events that happened back to back, including main engine cutoff, stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1, and the beginning of boost back burn. On the left side of your screen there, you see the first stage performing its boost back burn, heading towards the launch site. And on the right is the MVAC engine continuing to accelerate our payloads into orbit.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there go those 2 fairing halves. You can now see all of our payloads exposed to the vacuum of space. We should be wrapping up the boost back burn on the first stage in just around 10 seconds.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
There we go. We just had confirmation of the end of boost back burn. The next major milestone coming up is the entry burn on our first stage, and that's scheduled to occur around the T+6 minute mark. Now on the right side of your screen, we're currently in the first of 4 MVAC burns, and this burn should last for another 4 minutes or so. And as I mentioned, the next milestone will be the first stage's entry burn, coming up in just a couple minutes. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Falcon 9 performs 2 burns in order to land. The first burn of the 2 is the entry burn, and that slows the vehicle down before hitting the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And without this burn, we'd only be using the atmospheric drag to slow the vehicle down, which would add a significant amount of stress on the rocket. So for today's mission, a single Merlin 1D engine will relight for this entry burn. And following that entry burn, the booster will go through the final burn, which is the landing burn, and that'll slow the vehicle down just enough to make a soft landing on our landing pad. You can see there on the left side of your screen a view of the booster. Falcon 9 is equipped with 4 hypersonic grid fins, and those are positioned near the top of the first stage. And these help steer the vehicle as it returns to Earth. Wow, on the left side of your screen, you can see a great ground tracking shot of the first stage. Those white puffs coming off Falcon 9 are...
Vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
Those are cold nitrogen gas, which help with our attitude control. And this is just making small adjustments to the vehicle as it heads back towards the landing zone. On the right side of your screen, MVAC is continuing to burn towards orbit, currently traveling over 11,000 kilometers per hour. Again, coming up on that entry burn on the first stage in around 30 seconds. The entry burn will slow the vehicle down, so pay attention to that telemetry in the bottom left side of your screen.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there's that startup of the entry burn. This burn should last just around 20 seconds. We can see the vehicle rapidly decelerating now.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And there we go. That concludes our entry burn. The first stage has one more burn left prior to landing. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we will be attempting to recover this booster for the 5th time
Stage 1
today.
FTS has saved.
The Falcon 9 first stage is equipped with 4 landing legs made of carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb.
Vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
We should see those
Stage
legs
1 is
deploy just
transonic.
prior to landing. On the left, you can see a tracking shot of the first stage, and on the right, you can see the onboard cameras looking down towards the ground. Should be starting up that landing
Stage
burn
1
any
landing
second.
burn. Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Wow, what a view of that landing, folks. As you just saw and probably heard, we did just successfully land the first stage back at landing zone 4. So that marks
Stage
the
2 is internal guidance.
That marks the 5th landing for this specific booster. It also marks SpaceX's 280th landing of an orbital class rocket. Next milestone coming up in just around 15 seconds should be the shutdown of our second stage engine, the MVAC.
And back shutdown.
Nominal parking orbit.
And there we go. We just had confirmation of successful MVAC shutdown and a nominal parking orbit insertion. Coming up next, we do have the second burn of our MVAC engine.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
That second burn should start around the T plus 50-minute mark. So we'll be back here in just about 40 minutes to bring you live coverage of second engine start 2. Following that shortly will be the beginning of our payload deployments. So until then, enjoy the space views, and we'll see you soon.
SpaceX Dragon.
threshold of outer space. It's the biggest story of the year. This launching of the Russian satellite, which brings into the realm of possibility all those wild science fiction stories of interplanetary travel. It's fascinating. The world may never be the same again.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our coverage of the Transporter-10 mission. We've had a great mission so far with an on-time liftoff at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time. We have successfully recovered our first stage for its 5th time, landing at Landing Zone 4, and we have completed the first of 4 separate second stage burns. Now, we're just around 40 seconds away from the second lighting of the MVAC engine, and this will be a quick 3-second burn. Now you can see there on your screen a view of that MVAC engine coasting through space. Again, coming up on second engine start 2.
Nominal orbit insertion.
There we go. We did just have confirmation of second engine start 2 with a nominal orbit insertion. And as a reminder, there will be a total of 48 deployment events for the 53 payloads on Falcon 9 second stage. And at the moment, it looks like we're on track to start these deployments in just around 3 minutes from now. If you're not familiar, our transporter missions are dedicated rideshare flights, and SpaceX is targeting at least 3 rideshare missions to sun-synchronous orbit per year, in addition to opportunities for a ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, which launch about once a week. There are always some really neat payloads flying on transporter missions, and today's mission is, of course, no different. Falcon 9's second stage will deploy 53 payloads, and those include cubesats, microsats, and a hosted payload. As the demand for rideshare missions continues to rise, our rideshare program was expanded to accommodate even more small sats looking for rides into orbit. Later this year, Falcon 9 will launch the first bandwagon mission, which is a separate line of rideshare missions, and those will deliver spacecraft to mid-inclination orbits rather than to Transporter's sun-synchronous orbit. Rideshares do significantly increase access to space for small satellite operators around the world, and we're excited to be able to offer these launch opportunities for our customers. Now we're just a couple minutes out from the start of the first deployment sequence. As a reminder, we should have telemetry for all but 5 of our deployments today. It's also worth mentioning that because of the many spacecraft that are being deployed in quick succession, we may not be able to confirm every single deployment in real time. You should hear most of the deployments called out by our mission control operators, but if some are missed, we will try to provide updates for any we don't hear in real time, and we'll provide updates for those before the close of the webcast. And if you are interested, a full list of the payloads are available on SpaceX.com. Coming up on the beginning of that first sequence in about a minute and a half. As a reminder, there are 53 spacecraft that will separate from the second stage, and those are across 48 separate deployment events. We do have one short blackout period of no ground station coverage during this initial deployment sequence. Ground stations are how we get live camera views and telemetry, so only some of our deployments will be visible today. And at this point, we're just about 1 minute away from the start of the first deploy sequence. You can see those payloads at the top of our second stage there on your screen now. You can also note in the bottom right side of your screen is the second stage telemetry. You can see we're traveling almost 28,000 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 519 kilometers above the surface of the Earth.
Hammer payload separation confirmed. MH1 separation confirmed. Contact sat 1 separation confirmed. Pi 4 SV3 and SV4 separation confirmed. EC2BS separation confirmed. Rocinante separation confirmed. Johnny True separation confirmed. Orb Astro TR2 separation confirmed. Sonati 2 separation confirmed. Pi 4 SV1 and SV2 separation confirmed. Ondasat Owl 1 and Owl 2 separation confirmed. Charlie Rose separation confirmed. Iris F1 separation confirmed. Feldhus separation confirmed. New SAT separation confirmed. Link Tower 5 separation confirmed. Link Tower 6 separation confirmed. Tiger 7 separation confirmed. M3 separation confirmed. Tiger 8, separation confirmed. Lacey A, separation confirmed. Lacey B, separation confirmed. Sentry, separation confirmed. Pixis, separation confirmed. Fifi, separation confirmed. Rose, separation confirmed. Riri, separation confirmed. EM6, separation confirmed.
If you're just joining us, welcome to the Transporter-10 webcast. As a recap of our mission so far, we did have an on-time liftoff from the coast of California at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time. We did successfully land and recover our first stage, and we have lit the MVAC engine for 2 times so far. Currently are in the middle of our first deployment sequence. We just saw 28 deployments for a total of 31 spacecraft, and currently we're in a very short blackout period. Coming up next, we should expect to hear confirmation of 5 deployments that occurred during the blackout, plus 4 more deployments. For those of you following along, you probably know it's been a pretty busy week for SpaceX so far. We did successfully launch the Crew-8 crew towards the International Space Station last night. We are also planning on docking that crew to the space station later today. In addition, we have the Transporter-10 mission you are currently watching on your screen, as well as a Starlink mission happening in just a couple hours. As you can see in the telemetry on your screen, we are traveling at about 28,000 kilometers per hour, over 500 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. Currently, we are heading in a southwest direction over the Pacific Ocean. Again, we are expecting a short blackout period where we will not have telemetry from our second stage coming up shortly. We have successfully deployed 31 spacecraft so far across 28 deployments. You can see the remaining payloads on your screen now. In total, this deployment sequence should last just about 24 minutes.
Lulu, separation confirmed.
Just as a reminder, we are currently in the middle of a short blackout period where we will not have telemetry from our second stage. We are expecting to regain ground station coverage in a couple minutes here. During this blackout period, we are going through 4 deployment sequences, so we should get confirmation of those once we regain telemetry. And then once we regain telemetry, we do have an additional series of 4 more deployments that we should get live coverage for.
Apex Ares 1 separation confirmed. Optimus separation confirmed. Jackal 1 separation confirmed. Quark Light and Gluon separation confirmed. Ghost 4 separation confirmed.
For those of you just tuning in, we are looking at a live view of our Transporter-10 payload attachment. We're currently in the middle of the first phase of payload deployment sequences, just waiting on the last few payloads of this sequence.
Ghost 5 separation confirmed.
We're now just waiting on confirmation of the last two payloads to deploy from this sequence. In total, this sequence has lasted 22 minutes and should wrap up in around 2 minutes from now. Again, what you're seeing on your screen is a live view from space. This is a camera on our second stage pointing forward towards the payloads.
LizzieSat 1 separation confirmed.
As an update, that does bring us to the end of our first deployment sequence. So far, we have confirmed 36 total deployments for a total of 41 spacecraft. And we're just waiting on final confirmation of the last remaining spacecraft. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for the full data to come in with our telemetry. So next up, we are going to coast until the next relight of our MVAC engine, which is at the T+1 hour and 44-minute mark. So until then, again, enjoy the space views and the music.
Jackal 2 separation confirmed at the right time.
Does the blood move in your hand? Does your hand move to touch metal? Does that metal move to touch space? Does that metal move to touch space? Do wild thoughts of travel and migration move behind your flesh? They do. Does that metal move to touch space? A billion years ago, when we came out of the sea of this earth, and we formed a spine for ourselves. Formed a spine for ourselves. And we reared ourselves up upon this land. And we moved unto the land. When we came out of the sea of this earth, out of the sea of this earth, and we lived in caves and were terrified. And we lived in trees and were afraid. And we finally formed cities against the night. Finally formed cities against the night. Are daring to do the great thing. Are daring to do the great thing. You are going into space. And we're going into space. We're going to live forever. effort of the universe to understand itself. This blind thing turning in its sleep. You're part of that blindness coming awake. Every single one of you is a cell of this thing struggling to stay alive. Dying every day, rebirthing itself every night. You're part of that blindness coming awake. And that's what space travel's all about. We're part of a long effort of the universe to understand itself. And that's what space travel's all about.
Hello and welcome back to our coverage of the Transporter-10 mission. We've had a great mission so far with an on-time liftoff at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time. We did successfully land and recover our first stage for its 5th time at landing zone 4. And so far we have completed 2 of the 4 second stage burns. Now we're just a couple seconds away from the 3rd ignition of our MVAC engine, and this will be a quick 1-second burn. And also as an update during the break, we did get confirmation of that final deployment.
Nominal parking orbit.
And there we go. There's confirmation of good orbit after the 3rd burn. As I was mentioning earlier, we did get confirmation of the final deployment from our first deployment sequence, and so that brings us up to a total of 37 deployments and 42 spacecraft deployed so far in this mission. Coming up on this mission, we do have one final relight of our second stage engine, and that should be followed by the final 11 deployments, and that's going to occur around the T+2 hour and 25-minute mark for this mission. Again, we did just have successful third burn of our MVAC engine, so we are waiting for the final one at the T+2 hour and 25-minute mark of Transporter. However, in the meantime, while we continue to coast, the SpaceX teams are gearing up for another launch of Starlink from Launch Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, and that mission is set to lift off at 3:56 p.m. Pacific Time or 6:56 Eastern Time, just about 4 minutes from now. So on your screen right now, on the left-hand side, you can see the Starlink mission at Pad 40 down in Cape Canaveral. And on the right is the views from the Transporter-10 mission. It's very exciting for us to be able to track this additional Starlink launch today. SpaceX is averaging around one launch every 3 to 4 days so far this year. The Starlink mission on the left side of your screen will be carrying 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites into space. And after the Transporter-10 mission earlier today, this Starlink will be the 22nd mission of the year. The booster supporting this mission is flying for its 13th time today. We are planning to land this on one of our drone ships out in the Atlantic Ocean. And if successful, this will mark our 281st landing of an orbital class rocket. You can see on the left side of your screen, we do have a bit of fog on the pad today. However, teams are reporting that weather is looking good for our chance of liftoff. And coming up on the Starlink mission on the left at around T-2 minutes, we should be wrapping up LOX loading on the second stage. Finishing LOX loading on the second stage marks the ending of propellant loading for the vehicle. And at this point, the vehicle will be fully loaded with liquid oxygen and RP-1. The Starlinks today will deploy at around T+1 hour and 4 minutes, so be sure to check our social channels for confirmation of that deploy. And again, on the right side of your screen is the Transporter-10 mission. Currently, the second stage is coasting through space. Coming up on that mission is the final burn of the MVAC engine at around the T+2 hour and 25-minute mark. And following that, we do have the final 11 deployments for Transporter-10. And there we go. We did just hear on the left side of your screen the successful LOX loading of Stage 2 for this Starlink mission. Coming up next on this Starlink mission, we will be entering the vehicle into its startup state at around T-1 minute. And this is the point at which the vehicle takes over control of the countdown.
Yeah, launch closeout.
We just sort of call out for ground gas closeouts. The fog is obscuring our view, but we are now venting some LOX from the TE line. And again, coming up on startup on the left side of your screen for this Starlink mission.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go. Great news there. We just heard that we entered the vehicle into the startup state. We're just waiting on the final go for launch from our launch director.
SpaceX launch director, go for launch.
And there we go. With that confirmation from our launch director, Falcon 9 is ready to go for launch of the Starlink mission.
T-minus 30 seconds. Fifteen seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
We are now T plus 30 seconds into flight of this Starlink mission, which you can see on the left side of your screen. The vehicle has cleared the tower and is ascending through the Earth's atmosphere. We should be throttling down our
Power and
M1D.
telemetry are nominal.
Throttling those M1Ds down shortly to pass through the period of max Q. This, of course, is the
Vehicle is supersonic.
point at which the vehicle experiences a maximum aerodynamic loading.
Max Q.
And there we go. We just heard that we passed through the point of max Q. So those M1D engines should be throttled back up at this point. Again, on the left side of your screen is a live view from our first stage of a Starlink mission, which just took off from Cape Canaveral, Florida at Space Launch Complex 40. And on the right, we are still tracking our Transporter-10 mission, which is currently coasting through space. On the left side of your screen, we should be coming up on main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, and then second engine start 1. This mission on the left is a drone ship landing, so we won't see
Nominal trajectory.
we won't see a boost back burn like we did on Transporter-10 earlier today. And should be coming up on MECO in just around 30 seconds, so let's keep an eye on the left side of our screen.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
And there we go. On the left side of our screen, we just saw main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation and second engine start 1. You can now see the first stage and the second stage of the Starlink mission on the left side of your screen.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there go the fairing halves of the Starlink mission. You can see the stack of Starlinks now is exposed to the vacuum of space. The MVAC engine continuing to accelerate our payload towards orbit. The first stage is now going through a coast phase. The next burn for the first stage will be the entry burn. The entry burn typically lasts around 20 seconds, and its purpose is to slow the vehicle down before it enters through the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. You can see those short puffs of gas coming off the first stage on the very left. And those are used to reorient the vehicle to help guide it down towards the drone ship waiting in the Atlantic Ocean. For those of you following along, we do actually have 3 SpaceX stages currently in space at the same time. At the very left side of your screen is the first stage of the Starlink mission.
Both vehicles, nominal trajectory.
Just next to that is the MVAC continuing its first burn. And on the right, we do have Transporter-10, which its second stage is currently in a coast phase. We also do have Crew 8 heading towards the International Space Station as well right now. They should be docking a little bit later today. Next up on the Starlink mission is the entry burn. Should be happening in probably around 40 seconds. You can see the telemetry under the MVAC there on your screen. Currently traveling over 13,000 kilometers per hour, just at about 160 kilometers above the surface of the Earth.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
We just heard confirmation that we started the entry burn on the first stage. You can see now the telemetry of the first stage is rapidly slowing down. This burn should last just around 20 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
Both stages, nominal trajectory.
And there we go. We just heard confirmation of the shutdown of the entry burn on the first stage. The first stage, of course, has one more burn prior to landing. That is, of course, the landing burn. The landing burn will slow the vehicle down just enough to softly touch down on our drone ship, which is waiting out in the Atlantic Ocean. Following that landing burn, we should have the cutoff of our first burn of the MVAC engine. You can see in the telemetry of the first stage now, it is rapidly decelerating due to atmospheric drag.
Stage 1 transonic.
If you're just tuning in, we currently are following 2 separate missions for SpaceX right now. On the left is an active Starlink mission, and on the right is Transporter-10, which is currently in a coast phase. Coming up on the Starlink mission is the landing burn on the first stage.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There's confirmation.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Confirmation of stage 1 landing burn start. Should be getting some views of the drone ship here pretty soon.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there we go. There is successful confirmation of the second SpaceX first stage landing of the day. Now we're just waiting on second engine cutoff of the MVAC on the left side of your screen. We did just hear from the teams monitoring the Starlink mission that we had a successful shutdown of the MVAC engine and a nominal parking orbit insertion. The Starlinks will deploy on that mission at T+1 hour and 4 minutes, so be sure to check the socials for confirmation of that deployment. And turning our attention back to Transporter-10, we do have another relight of the MVAC engine coming up, along with the final 11 deployments for today's mission. So we'll see you back here for those final milestones at about T plus 2 hours and 25 minutes into flight.
nominal orbit insertion.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our coverage of the Transporter-10 mission. We've had a great mission so far with an on-time liftoff at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time. We did recover our first stage for its 5th time at landing zone 4. And we did actually just complete the 4th and final relight of the MVAC engine for our primary mission today. And that burn was just about 1 second long. We also did get a confirmation of good orbit. So next up, our final 11 deployments for Transporter-10. And as a reminder, today we do have a total of 48 deployment events across 53 payloads. If you're not familiar, our transporter missions are dedicated rideshare flights, and we currently target at least 3 of these rideshare missions to sun-synchronous orbit per year. Now, of course, there are always some really neat payloads flying on these transporter missions, and today's mission is no different, from a payload that will one day help address the issue of space debris, to another providing in-space surveillance and reconnaissance support, another for Earth imaging and emissions tracking, and several payloads intended to demonstrate and grow in-space technologies. SpaceX is working to meet the increased needs of these rideshare missions. And recently, SpaceX's rideshare program was expanded to accommodate even more small sats looking for rides to orbit. Later this year, Falcon 9 will launch the first bandwagon mission, which is a separate line of rideshare missions that will deliver spacecraft to mid-inclination orbits rather than Transporter's sun-synchronous orbit. Now, we're just about 2 minutes out from the start of the final deployment sequence, where we expect to see our final 11 deployments take place. And if you're interested, a full list of payloads are available on SpaceX.com. Again, coming up on the beginning of the last payload deployment sequence in just over a minute now. On your screen is a live view of the remaining payloads in our Transporter-10 mission. You can see we are now at an altitude of about 600 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. Those later MVAC engine burns that we did would have refined this orbit.
Separation confirmed.
And there we just heard the beginning of the payload deployment sequence now.
BRO-13, separation confirmed. Horatio, separation confirmed. Rocky 2, separation confirmed. NewSat 2, separation confirmed. Pony Express 2, SV2, separation confirmed. Pony Express 2, SV1, separation confirmed.
First ISI satellite, separation confirmed. Third ISI satellite, separation confirmed. Second ISI satellite, separation confirmed. Methane sat, separation confirmed.
All payload separations have been confirmed.
And there we go, folks. That brings us to the end of our final deployment sequence. And with that confirmation, we have successfully deployed all of our payloads on today's mission. And if you're interested, a full listing of today's payloads can be found over at spacex.com. We'd like to thank all of our rideshare customers for their support on today's mission, and of course to you, our viewers. As I mentioned earlier, Transporter-10 marks SpaceX's 21st mission of 2024. At the same time, we did launch another Starlink mission, which marked our 22nd launch of the year. And if you're interested in even more live mission coverage, be sure to tune in for Crew 8's arrival to the International Space Station just a little bit later tonight before midnight Pacific time. And before we go, in celebration of Women's History Month, we like to celebrate the remarkable women on our team and across the globe whose contributions, leadership, and achievements in STEM and beyond inspire us every single day. Here's to exploring together and empowering the next generation of trailblazers. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.